Evening, guys. So most of this week I've been talking about Cantha, the newly confirmed expansion 3. There's a whole lot to talk about there, but today's actually quite good in-game as well, as it's the next big release for the Icebrood Saga. This is the first time we've seen an Icebrood Saga release that isn't a full-on episode. This is the Visions of the Past release. It's a release that I thought was going to be very small several months ago when they first announced this, but actually is pretty goddamn big, and I hope that they keep doing more Visions of the Past type updates as we go forward. The main features are the return of several Season 1 episodes, some new story content dealing with the current story you can play, and the addition of the Hall of Monuments and the Eye of the North as a full-fledged regular map in the game. Now, the previously existing Hall of Monuments Guild Wars 1 players who connected their two accounts does still exist. You can use that with the Hall of Monuments Stone, but that's the 2012 version. Now you get to come here for the 2020 version. It's totally different. There's some new features going on, particularly the idea of strike missions. This is like an aerodrome for strike missions. You can access them all here. There's a new idea of a priority strike mission that's been introduced to the game, so that's the one you kind of want to do this week. And there's a new reward system as well that's very similar to how dungeons were handled in the past, with some new armor, the runic armor. Lots of fun things to talk about. Now, this video, I'm not going to go into any spoilers. We're just going to go over general update notes. But check it out, right? So this is the new map, and you can see lots of players here. For the first time, it's not just you plus the 4 party members that you arrived with. And I mean, let's be honest, how rare was that? Kim's the Historian still here. It's pretty fun. And of course, it does look a little bit spoilery for the Path of Fire era. Or post-Path of Fire era, to be honest. It's the season after Path of Fire that really this is going to start spoiling for you. So there's some weird inconsistencies I will be talking about, but this is available pretty much to anyone who owns the most recent X-Pack. Let's jump on in over to the patch notes themselves now and talk about some of the other generic changes. There's actually a reason that I'm on early, because there was a bit of a balance change and a slightly different skill animation, I believe, over on Focus. We'll look at in just a second. So let's swap on over. And let's see what we've got. So, 17th of March. It's funny, when I actually looked at this page earlier, there had been a wiki edit saying that the patch came out on the 13th. And it blew my mind. I thought I'd become really terrible at keeping up with what was going on with Guild Wars, and the patch had been out for 3 days already, but no, it was just a mistake on the wiki. So, first big thing, the Eye of the North. Heed Aureen's call to the Eye of the North. As your allies gather to the north, you can visit new merchants, unlock services, and access any strike mission through the Eye's Asura Gate. Complete the Vision of the Past Steel and Fire mission to explore the secrets of the Scrying Pool and peer into past events. The content's available to any player with Path of Fire. So, I don't actually like this, the fact that you just get a POF account and then boom, you're here. I haven't actually verified that and bought Path of Fire just to log in and then instantly see, but you would be a bit desynced the second that happens. It'd be one of those weird things like what happened years ago. You know, you make a new char, you appear at the Plains of Ashford, and randomly, for some reason, you have all these waypoints everywhere else around the world, instead of having to go through the Asura Gates, which was the original mechanic. That came in because of like a weird, obscure free-to-play mechanism where they wanted people to be able to meet up even before they had access to Lion's Arch or something. And now, what does that mean? I have a level 1 character that's just zoned into the world, and I can instantly waypoint up here, and I'll be at the Eye of the North, and I guess I can do strikes with other people, use my level 80 booster and instantly play. It's kind of a cool idea. It just feels weird in terms of, like, getting access to the wrong story in the wrong order. Maybe the devs really don't mind stuff like that anymore. But then this is the same studio that is such sticklers for spoilers releasing in the first few hours after an update. I don't know, it's a strange one. Not perfectly ideal, but maybe I'm nitpicking and it's not a big deal. Next, we also have the Steel and Fire. Play with friends, so that is what was referenced here. This is one of the visions, the opening vision you'll get out of the Scrying Pool. So this is to play with friends or meet new Tyrians and venture into the past to fight alongside Ryland Steelcatcher's elite warband as a fresh recruit in the Forging Steel group mission. Then play as Ryland himself as he follows Bangar into the Darkrime Delves, and things take an unexpected turn when he runs into none other than Almora Soulkeeper. So I'm not quite sure how this works. Is it one mission that is played in 2 parts, one amongst the warband and the other when you're following Ryland in 2 separate places? I also like this idea. It's a group mission. Now, I haven't played this just yet. This video is totally spoiler-free. We're just looking at the generic changes. But the idea of a story mission that is designed to be a group mission, guys, I'm not sure you realize how profound that actually is. That is fantastic. and will really bring a lot of that dungeon feeling back to the game that a lot of us have been missing since the code base for dungeons became too unwieldy and the devs looked away and started looking at fractals and things. I'm really excited about this. I mean, it says play with friends or meet new Tyrians. You have to be with other people. It's calibrated to be a group mission for story. This could be really good and actually addresses one of the explicit things I said was a problem with Guild Wars 2, and that there's a lack of opportunities for meaningful co-op gameplay for average players. People who don't want to get into the hardcore endgame stuff. People too intimidated away from PvP. People too intimidated away from the raids. What reason do they have to really interact and play with other people? Well, it's just absent. But now it sounds like they're actually addressing that here, which could be fantastic. Expect an update video on this, really. And they've located it at what is essentially a new aerodrome, right? A new hub of activity with all these other players. I love this about the Eye of the North, that it was such an empty, cold place before, and now there's all these people here just like we had in the original game, and they're actually meaningfully grouping up to play certain kinds of content. So yeah, expect an update. I think this could be good for the game. Or I've misinterpreted what they're saying here, and you can just solo it. I hope not. Anyway, then, once that's done, you can inspect a mysterious message in the Eye of the North to begin a journey to master the scrying pool and experience a selection of Season 1 stories again. 4 new Season 1 missions added this same patch. The mission at Cragstead, the North Nolan Hatchery, Canuck's Lair, and the Nightmare Incarnate. So, I already did a big discussion on this in a previous video when they announced this was coming. A mix of elation that the Season 1 content was arriving, but also some fears that the devs have misunderstood why I and many members of the community have wanted this. We don't want Season 1 missions just because it's new content, and just because we want things to play, and just because we thought that the Canuck's Lair mission was the best thing they ever made, right? I mean, sure, there will be some advocates along those lines with something like, say, the Marionette. We don't want that just to play it. We want it so that there's a cohesive method of traveling through the whole story, so that when we recommend this game to our friends, we feel like they can actually get caught up on the full plot in a nice, normal order. Not to play a story to do with Destiny's Edge and Traherne and the Pact, and then suddenly have this awkward recap and then be dealing with all these new players they don't know. We want Season 1 so that Season 1 is filtered correctly into the Season 1 section, Scarlet's War. And I was really hoping that when they announced that the Season 1 stuff was coming, it was because they were adding it here. And, well, they didn't. So, I'm a little bit disappointed in this. Basically, if you want to play Season 1 this patch, you have to buy Path of Fire, come to the Eye of the North, get spoiled for this story here at the Eye of the North. I mean, presumably you'll do the personal story first, but then you buy Path of Fire, then you come here, get spoiled on this stuff, then you have to play the stuff with Ryland. You have to do this new group mission stuff, which is even more spoilers. And you're going to find out stuff about, like, the fate of Almora, presumably. And then once that's done, then you have these missions. Then you go back to Lion's Arch and do the Ella McKay recap. Then you come back to the Eye of the North. Then you play the missions. Then you go to Season 2. And you still have an awkward jump anyway, because this isn't the full, experience of Season 1. It's just a spattering of the missions. So, I don't get it, really. I mean, I'm happy, ArenaNet, to be able to play this. I will give you guys videos about this. I'm enthusiastic for new content, and I'm enthusiastic for efforts made. But it just stinks of the studio not understanding their own product, or why a thing has been asked to be in the game, or why they're doing a thing. I mean, you could just say it's efficient payoff, right? Like, it's not too hard for them to add this because most of it's already done. But I feel like even that's a ridiculous thing to say, because if that's true, wouldn't they have done it years ago? This clearly took effort. This clearly has, needed some TLC and stuff to be brought back up to date. And yet they've done it in such a way that it's not a value add to the game. Not really. You'll get a few veteran nerds excited about it right here this week, maybe over this month. And, we'll have fun and we'll be a little bit nostalgic. But that's not worth the bang for the buck that you could have got if this was implemented in the story journal. It just seems like such a bizarre and, foolish reason to add this just because now the scrying pool's in the game. We didn't need the scrying pool as an excuse to have this. You had reason enough to implement it in the story journal for years. So my hope now, alright, and I don't want to be short-sighted in my thinking in any way here, my hope now is that they're using the scrying pool as an excuse in the interim to relaunch this content in the faces of the veterans. Because, let's face it, a lot of players are not as invested in Guild Wars 2 as I am. And what they'll do is they would see that Season 1 missions are coming in the story journal, and they wouldn't look. They wouldn't know it's there. But by putting it into the scrying pool, they know that this is here, and they're all going to be focused on it. So my hope is that the devs are looking at this as an interim solution, that maybe over the continuance of the Icebreed saga, and hell, maybe even after we go to Cantha and whatever season comes after Cantha, that during all this time, they will keep filtering more into the scrying pool, and when we reach critical mass, and there's a ton of them, they'll all get properly implemented into the Season 1 history lesson, or the Season 1 history lesson really will go away, and we will have Scarlet's War playable. That is my hope. It's still a complicated proposition because they've half implemented some stuff in Fractals now, and now they've half implemented some stuff here. But that's what my fingers are crossed. I hope it's not that they just had no idea why they're adding it or what value it would be. But there you have it. So, yeah, that's a big part of the patch for me. And I'm sure, again, the missions themselves are going to be really fun. I'm sure they are. And I'm looking forward to playing them. I really am. Next, you got two new legendary trinkets. We did hear about these. I discussed them in a recent video. Basically, there's Transcendence for PvP. And there's, which is an amulet, by the way. And there's Conflux for World versus World. The amulet is definitely the most exciting one. I think this, right now, is actually my ideal version of Guild Wars 2. In that, if you want a full legendary character, you are going to need to play all the formats. I think that is appropriate. I think that is fitting. It filters people around, and I would really advocate for ArenaNet leaving it like that. If a player is sitting there watching this video right now thinking, oh, but I want to be full legendary, but I don't want to play PvP, well, tough luck. You know, these are cosmetic, optional, ultimate end game items. They're not for everyone. They're for the people who put in the true dedication to the game, and that means experiencing the full game. And believe me, a lot of you have opinions about PvP that would probably change once you actually got in there, because I do genuinely think it's a great part of the game. It's just an intimidating and difficult learning curve to go through, which maybe you would inflict upon yourself by going for the amulet. I personally don't have any plans, having said all of that, to actually engage with those things, but there you have it. 2 new legendaries for the people that are interested in those parts of the game. And don't forget as well, if and when alliances ever come, Conflux might be something interesting to pick up there. Now, strike missions. So we've obviously got these new missions and these new missions. Strikes are also coming out of the scrying pool. They've added a universal, well, not out of the scrying pool, I guess, but out of the Eye of the North, there's a universal strike access portal where any of them can be launched. Having a universal portal is really good. Remember that some of them are deliberately designed to be easier than others. Or is it at the scrying pool? I'm not sure, actually. Let's just have a little bit of a wander around. Having one universal place for all of them is really good, because what it means is you can have an easy strike and a slightly harder strike and a slightly harder strike. I'm guessing that no matter what episode of this saga you own, you get all the scrying pool missions, maybe? Or the strike mission portal missions? Maybe it is here, actually. Let's have a look. If we walk right up, will it say strike missions to me? No, it says view the Eye of the North before we arrived here. Not too sure on where we actually get access to that. But in addition, they have given us some more as well. There's 1 strike mission per day, is now called the priority strike. This is kind of like what they do with raids, right? Where 1 raid will reward you more. Actually, isn't it 2 different wings that reward you more? Anyway, it's public version, available from Eye of the North, and a daily achievement that rewards the new Prophet Crystal currency. So look, they've updated dailies. I was advocating for this recently, and I think this is a really good idea as well. This new currency is basically like how dungeon currencies worked before. Prophet shards are a reward, and the shards and the crystals can be traded for powerful rewards, it says. Basically, they're just cosmetics. This is Guild Wars 2. It's about the cosmetics. But that's where the new runic armor comes from that they talked about, which, funnily enough, is not mentioned on the patch notes. Right, into more general changes. Reduced Defiance bar scaling for the champion Bone Skinner in the Aberrant Forest. Not sure why. Actually, I am sure why. Didn't that start getting really out of whack after a while? And he was just eating the villagers over and over and over again. They added map materials to the bottom of the inventory panel on all living world maps. They added raid currencies to the bottom of the inventory panel in the aerodrome. And they prevented karma from updating in the inventory panel in some maps. So yeah, this actually happened on a recent patch, and I'm not sure I talked about it in its respective video. But you can actually now see multiple currencies at once in certain maps. So if we come, for example, up to Grothmar, we should see that in a second. We're on the loading screen. Let's go back to the patch notes here. Then we got some balance changes. So this is an example of one of the mini balance updates that they did assure us would happen because of the massive balance shakeup, you know, a few weeks ago. And they are coming at a good speed, and the devs are paying off on that. That's not lost on me. So Twist of Fate could be cancelled at the very beginning. I guess that would have given you the evades, even though it never went on cooldown, which would have been pretty bad. Elemental Polyphony fixed a bug that caused it to grant toughness while double attuned to earth instead of vitality. If you remember, they changed that. Transcendent Tempest fixed a bug that caused the trait to reduce the singularity delay by 25% instead of 33. Summoned Elementals fixed a bug that caused the Elementals to be killed prematurely when using certain skills that lock the skill bar. And then there's this one, Obsidian Flesh, which is basically it's a channel now. So here we are in Grothmar. You can see, look, we've got gold, karma, and our hatch chilies all listed together. Anyway, yeah, so Obsidian Flesh, this used to be you just press it and you could cast other skills at the same time. Radically different now. I have to channel Obsidian Flesh. And if I dodge, I guess I can end it early. It's a little bit more like Elixir S in that way then, though Elixir S isn't actually technically a channel, I guess. That locks all your skills out. But yes, so that's the way the Obsi Flesh works now. It's like if you want to be invulned, be invulned. By the way, why is my cooldown back? Is that because I cancelled it at the end? Oh, ArenaNet. All right, well, they have to fix that, won't they? That's ridiculous. I haven't even really played yet, and I found this bug. Yeah, so you can channel, get some invulnerability, and then dodge roll at the end and get the cooldown back for the, you know, just the interrupt ICD. That's terrible. How did that get through? Wow. Well, there you have it. Let's keep going with some more of the balance changes. Engineer. They had a minor tweak to compounding chemicals, which meant that it was not giving you concentration in the competitive modes. The Hunter's Ward visual animation, that's the big Longbow 5 skill, has had its visuals toned down, which is good, because when that hit a lot of targets, that was pretty explosive, to be honest, on the screen. Corrupt Boon had its tooltip properly updated to show the real 18 seconds. Eternal Life, which spams prot on you when you get loads of Carapace. That had some circumstances where it wasn't working. In Desert Shroud, it now does. We have, for Ranger, the Spirited Arrival, fix the description of the trait, not that interesting, fix the description of the trait. Reduce the, but there's a lot of nerfs here, which were probably kind of necessary. There's a lot you could do to stat bump and get a lot of modifiers on Soul Beast. So Pack Alpha in the competitive modes has been halved. That's, you get lots of stats while merged. Pet Prowess and your Beast Mastery. Pet's Prowess, similar thing. The Ferocity that you get while merged gone from 300 to 150, halved. That if you merge with a ferocious pet, it's gone from 200 to 100, halved. Maul, Greatsword 2, had its power coefficient dropped a little bit. Probably should be dropped more. I mean, Maul is just so ridiculous. And then Worldly Impact had it dropped a little bit as well. All of these combined, though, you will find that your Mauls and your Worldly Impacts, when they get all these less stats up here, are going to be much more brought in line. These were huge outliers, and I'm actually surprised that they got through to the level that they did. But they've been dropped down now. Over at Rev, the pulsing facet of chaos, they prevented a skill from receiving the intended cooldown reduction of 45 to 35 seconds. Assassin's Signet fixed a bug that caused the Signet to grant its old bonus damage in addition to the bonus power. I actually heard about that a long time ago, and I think that this was like really egregious, wasn't it? I'm surprised it took till now to get out, but this was a pretty early balance patch following. Lots of bug fixes with Warrior. Basically, as a Spellbreaker, when you used your bursts, they were acting like T3 bursts for these ones here. Like, you would get a T3 Eviscerate for the price of a T1 burst. Ridiculous. Same with Arcing Strike. Same with Skullcrack. Same with Killshot. And they've been rightly nerfed. Breaching Strike apparently was able to do a bit more damage than it was supposed to. They altered Thick Skin in accordance with their tweaks they were talking about before. So instead of granting toughness, you just get damage reduction. And Spiked Armor actually got a buff. The trait now causes retaliation to grant 10% damage reduction instead of 150 toughness. So while you have retail, you get the damage reduction instead of toughness. And all that weird aggro swappy stuff in raids that they talked about won't be going on. Next, you got some general stuff for PvP. The Auric Span 2v2 map. They fixed a bug with the overtime damage that basically would last into the next round. Kind of funny. Rune of Speed apparently sometimes wouldn't function correctly. Rune of Speed's actually really OP and fun. I like it a lot. But I never really knew when it would break. Maybe that's something as a result of the recent patch that I myself didn't experience. Anyway, that's supposedly fixed. Then we have Black Lion. As always, you guys can pause the video if you want to check this out. But I think the most notable stuff is new Black Lion chest, basically, and there's a new Black Lion weapon set. the Darkwing set, I believe it's called, which people are quite excited about. There's also the return of some old town clothes that you haven't had for a while, and obviously their outfits these days. So yeah. Then there's some late notes from Wiki. First of all, a thing about obsidian flesh, but up here, some quick other updates. Fixed a bug with transmuting capes, wasn't actually costing any transmutation shards, and they fixed a bug that caused a client disconnect in the Darkrai Delves just a few moments before I started recording this video. So there you go, that's the patch in general, guys. That's most of the changes. That's what they've done with a quick little balance update. That's how the saga is looking at the moment, and I've got to say, I'm pretty excited to get in there and play some of those new things. I got so many videos for you. I have loads of Stellaris stuff going up. If you guys haven't given that a shot just yet, and you're particularly a Guild Wars 2 fan, please do feel free to. You'll get more out of that series than you probably are thinking you'd get right now. And I have some more Canthan stuff coming up as well, so enjoy that. I'll find some time to play these things and talk to you guys about the actual visions of the past and what they were like in some upcoming productions. Thanks, everybody. We've got so much to talk about. I guess everyone's at home because of COVID-19 anyway, so we've all got plenty of time on our hands, and I will see you all for the next one very soon. Thanks, guys. Take care now.